Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, Steeler fans, to a special edition Steeler segment this week. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash. The Steelers released wide receiver / running back Dri Archer yesterday and claimed Jacoby Jones off of waivers. This is the best move they've ever made, according to Dash, correct?
You're dead wrong.
You love Dri Archer.
I like Dri Archer, and I think he'll get signed somewhere else and
Do you think
step in as their kick returner.
somebody will claim him on waivers, or you think somebody will just wait till he's an unrestricted free agent?
I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if you claim him on waivers, it's not really that big of a deal, right? I mean,
You just continue on with their current contract. That's pretty much...
yeah, and I mean, it's a rookie
downside.
contract, so he's not making a lot of money right now. You know what I mean? So
Rookie
I don't
3-year deal. The only thing that I could see is maybe a team only wants him for 1 year instead of being locked in. I think you get a 2 or 3 year deal with a third-round pick. They might not want to be stuck with him that long, because then if you release him, you have to take a cap hit. So
in the end, I mean, this really isn't that big of a deal, I wouldn't think. Kick returner is the most obsolete position in the NFL these days.
Please believe.
Steeler fans are making a big deal out of this. Most of them really hated Dri Archer. And, I mean, he hasn't come up with the big play yet. But, I mean, you look at his stats, 14 returns, 354 yards. That's 7th in the NFL and 1st in the AFC. A 25.3 average, that's 3rd in the AFC and 10th in the NFL. And his long is 38 yards. Jacoby Jones' stats doesn't even compare to that this season. This guy is old. He's 31 years old, and he's garbage right now. He hasn't been a good receiver in years. And he's only averaging 21.4 yards per return. And you look at his punt returns, 5 returns for -4 yards.
Now, what if Jones is breaking one down the sideline? Is Tomlin going to forget that he's on the team and try to trip him again and cost us a touchdown? Because I'm not cool with that. It's fine when he's doing it to Baltimore players. I'm word up. But if he's doing it to our own guys, it's no good.
I highly doubt it.
You're taking a young guy in Dri Archer. Okay, maybe he hasn't shown the Steelers what they thought he could. We don't really know what their, hopes exactly were for him. You're replacing him with a guy who's in his prime, when in his prime, was better than Archer at returning kicks.
Oh, no
but
doubt.
He is no longer in his prime. He's at the end of his career. So there's no potential growth, really, for Jones long term. Maybe this season, he could catch lightning in a bottle and do it. But if I'm the coaching staff, I would go with the young guy who has potential over the old guy who doesn't. Now, this feeds right into Tomlin hates young players, and I say it a lot, and not a lot of people agree with me, but this guy's benching every young guy he gets a chance to outside of Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown when they were first starting their careers. I don't understand it.
Well, I think you can say that draft pick was definitely a bust now. There's no doubt about it.
And that's not even on Archer because, he
was drafted too high, first of all.
Yeah, he was drafted
It's not
too
his
high.
fault.
And then he wasn't given the opportunity to succeed at all. I mean, he did not get enough touches. What he was doing in practice, we don't know. We didn't get to see him in practice every day. So maybe they didn't like what they seen him there to warrant the playing time. Okay, if that's the case, then that's fine. But they never gave him an offensive touch this year, did they? Did he touch the ball on offense? No. So you're replacing him with a wide receiver in Jacoby Jones, who I don't know if they think he can still play wide receiver, but I think AB has more yards in 1 year than this guy has in his freaking career.
Well, he has no catches this year. He had 9 catches last year with Baltimore in his last season with Baltimore. They got rid of him. They didn't want him. San Diego, they bring him in. They cut him. They didn't want him. And look, if this guy had anything left, wouldn't you think a team like the Baltimore Ravens, who have Kamar Aiken as their #1 wide receiver right now, Steve Smith is done for the season, wouldn't you think they would bring him in if they thought he had anything at all? Because he already knows the system. So I think this guy is washed up.
Yeah, unless Baltimore's cash strapped, which I'm not really sure what their cap situation is, you would think they would pick him up in a hurry. The only thing, I wasn't a huge fan of Archer's, but I'm not condoning this move. but Archer never returned a ball past the 40-yard line.
Right.
Okay, so, yeah, maybe he's never had a big, long return, but he's been more consistent this year. Last week, he got hammered by the press because he took 2 balls out of the end zone that Tomlin didn't like. Two he shouldn't have, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, every player makes mistakes. Ben threw 3 interceptions last week. So, you show the guy what he did wrong and you move on. He's a young guy.
You look at it, a lot of people saying he didn't show enough improvement. Well, like you said, they didn't put him on offense to show any improvement, and he did show a lot of improvement in the return game this season. You remember last year, what he averaged just over 17 yards per return.
Yeah.
And he got replaced with Marcus Wheaton. Well, he's averaging about 8 yards more per return this season. So that seems like he progressed this season, in my opinion. And then Jacoby Jones. This guy was a great kick returner at one time. I think he actually has 4 touchdowns over the past 3 seasons. But this season, he's barely over 20 yards per return. A lot of Steeler fans are saying, it's about time Dri Archer goes. He only makes it to the 10 or 15 yard line on every return. Well, if that is true with a 25.3 yard per return average, then Jacoby Jones would have only returned it to the 6 or 7 yard line.
It just doesn't make sense. I've also read, and this was only one article, but it said that there could be more trouble brewing with Martavis Bryant, and that, a long-term absence could be coming for him. And in that case, Jones fills the last wide receiver spot. Everybody else gets bumped up. He takes 5th or 6th wide receiver spot and then returns kicks. And if pressed into duty, maybe they feel he's a little more valuable than Dri Archer is. But really, if you're pressed into duty with your very last wide receiver, aren't you beat anyway?
Or how about this? Let's cut Dri Archer, make Marcus Wheaton your kick returner, and go sign a wide receiver, a guy that has more than 9 catches over the past 2 seasons. That would make sense too. Eddie B left a comment. He says, I fear this is a sign that Bryant may be in trouble again, like you were saying. Have you heard he's not practicing now due to illness? They must be getting frustrated with him after the mistakes last week. Any thoughts?
I literally heard that Bryant had his hands tattooed on Saturday before the game, and the team was upset with him because as a wide receiver, that's a dumb move. You get him tattooed the day after the game. And
or in the offseason.
Yeah, you're right.
You'll have it the rest of your life, man.
Or something. He just doesn't make good football choices. He really doesn't, it seems like. He's got to get it together.
And for the illness part of it, he did miss Wednesday's practice with an illness, but I read all systems go today for Thursday's session. So he is coming back. He is going to play. But, yeah, I guess there's a lot of questions surrounding him again. You said something about maybe a suspension for something again?
Something. That's just what the one article I read was hinting at, that maybe a long-term absence. They don't know if it's going to be a suspension from the team or a suspension from the league, but apparently the front office is a little nervous and some things are being said and not said in front of different reporters.
That would be a huge loss. Listen, we've lost so much this season, and Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant are all they have left outside of Big Ben on the offensive side. Yeah, they got Heath Miller, and he's always great and everything, but big playmakers here. And Martavis Bryant, it looks like he was taking it to the next level. I hope this really doesn't happen, something bad doesn't happen here, and he gets suspended or something, because, then it's time to maybe think this season could be over at that point, because you can't just lose every good player you have and just keep winning.
We may still have a chance to squeeze into the playoffs if we lost Bryant, but it'd be one and done most likely.
Listen,
Jacoby that would be a Jones, miracle play by Ben.
Jacoby Jones isn't going to help the situation. Let's say Bryant goes down. Well, in my opinion, I'd put Hayward Bay in the game and Marcus Wheaton. That'd be your 3 receivers. It would have to be. And Jacoby Jones, like I said, he's done nothing in the receiving game. This guy's beat because, he's done nothing in the receiving game over the last 2 seasons, but he was good at kick returning. Don't you think he'd be at least be kick returning the ball well at this point if he was even remotely a decent receiver still? He's not even good at what he is known to be good at now. He's not going to be a good receiver.
I think the biggest problem with our kick return game was our blocking, quite honestly. I know Archer struggled with vision. We've talked about that before. He didn't always take the right lane. But the blocking hasn't been great. Archer is putting up the yards. Like you said, the stats, he's first in the AFC, I think, in yards.
Yeah.
But they don't they're mad because he's not getting it downfield. You know, he hasn't got pat. Well, I mean, he can only get it as far as his blockers takes him, and that's any kick returner. So in the very top of the episode, you said it. It's one of the most obsolete positions in football, the kick return game. So I don't understand what they think they're going to get out of this move. Like how much, if they get one touchdown return out of Jones, is it worth it?
I mean, I guess. Why not? Yeah.
It just doesn't. I mean, does Archer have the potential to get one touchdown
I
return?
think so too, yeah.
So, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, it's easy to say if he gets one, oh, look, he got one. Well, how do we know Archer wouldn't if you give him a whole season? I don't.
Well, listen, back to the
I
blocking.
hate Archer.
Back to the blocking part of it. I know you can't compare punt returns and kick returns. I was a punt returner and kick returner. It's two totally different things. Punt returning is much harder. But
Chaotic.
Antonio Brown has done nothing in the return game really this season. I mean, he may have one or two decent returns. I know a couple of them got called back on a couple, maybe like a 20-yard return or something. But he's not getting any blocking, it looks like, on the punt returns.
And a lot of penalties.
Who says Dri Archer is getting that blocking on the kick returns?
Right. I agree.
But look, definitely a bust pick now. You got rid of him. It was a third-round pick. Devontae Freeman was actually picked a few spots behind him.
Yeah.
So you can obviously see it was a bust pick. But really, in turn, this gives me something else to blame Haley for, because really the only reason they drafted this guy to me is because of what Haley can do with these types of players in their offense. Look what he did with McCluster in Kansas City. Yeah. So he really never got him involved, never really gave him a chance. And Todd Haley just isn't the leader of this offense. I really think they got to bring in a new offensive coordinator here at some point. Look, you know how we were talking about you can't play the same way with D'Angelo Williams as you do with Le'Veon Bell. Well, right. Todd Haley said he is not going to change the offense whatsoever with D'Angelo Williams. And it doesn't surprise me because he doesn't know how to change the offense, obviously. Nope. If someone gets hurt, let's say Ben goes down for 4 weeks like he has, look what he changed the offense into. Hand the ball off to Le'Veon Bell. That was pretty much it.
That's it.
And screen pass to Le'Veon Bell. And screen pass to Heath Miller.
If Haley doesn't have a dominant running back, he's nothing. And I mean, obviously a dominant running back makes every offensive coordinator's job easier. But Haley doesn't know what to do if he doesn't have a guy who just completely dominates on the ground. The way Jamal Charles and Bell did.
Don't get me wrong, Kevin Colbert got to be to blame for this too. It was a bad pick, obviously.
Colbert,
Mike Tomlin got to take a little bit of blame, but the only reason they did this is because they knew Todd Haley could use guys like this. And it's just another reason that Haley should not be here.
Please believe. Hopefully they just let Ben run some more no-huddle this year and he can call the plays himself.
Yeah, but to wrap it up, Dri Archer, he's going to get signed, and he's going to look good for the rest of the season. Nothing great, but he's going to look okay like he had here with the Steelers. I know he had some bad returns. He also had some good returns. Jacoby Jones, he's just old. He shouldn't be on the field on the offense, just like Dri Archer wasn't on the offense. If Martavis Bryant goes down, I still don't want to see Jacoby Jones on the offense. I just seen Archer has his career ahead of him. Jacoby Jones' career is behind him.
I was never a big Archer fan. I think it was a stupid pick for Pittsburgh because a player like that has just never panned out in the Steelers offense. You've never seen one be successful.
Who was the dude from Florida?
Successful. Chris Rainey. With the way the field is, the style of play, the temperature, you know what I mean, when it gets cold in December and stuff, these players just don't have success here. I wouldn't be shocked if Archer went somewhere and became a Tavon Austin type player. Maybe not his caliber, but that type. You know, somebody
Doc
who...
McCluck.
Yeah, somebody who might take some reverses. I don't see him being able to line up in the backfield too much.
Nah.
I think for him to be successful, he's got to just be a receiver, screw the running back part of it, go to kick returner, receiver, maybe punt returner. You got to give him the ball in space and let him try to make some moves.
You can line them up in the backfield, sort of like they do with McCluster and Cobb. You know what I mean? They're receivers, and they throw them in the backfield.
See, the other reason I don't like it is because the team knows 100% that guy's not staying on the
I'm sure,
block.
but if you see Randall Cobb in the backfield, I'm sure you think the same thing, though, too.
Yeah. Cobb is a better talent.
Oh, no doubt.
So I don't think Archer will go out and do good things. He'll be a solid kick returner for somebody most likely, but I wouldn't be shocked if he made some waves and scored a couple touchdowns this year.
It'd be awesome.
As far as Jacoby Jones goes, he's going to return some kicks. I don't know.
Yeah, you might have 9 returns the rest of the season.
If
maybe.
he gets past the 40 a couple times, I guess that's what the Steelers want. So
well, look,
it's a
his
win
longest
for them.
return this season is 30 yards, so don't expect that very much.
Right,
Look, like I said, the average 21.4. Well, let's say you get the ball 5 yards deep in the end zone. If you return that 21 yards, you're at the 16-yard line, and
Right.
you're screaming to get rid of Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, so it was just a dumb move.
We'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
if he could prove us wrong, who knows?
Maybe Tomlin just hated Archer. Maybe he had a bad attitude or something. We don't know. We're not in the locker room all the time. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Archer, but I haven't heard anybody stand up and say he was a good teammate either. So who knows? But that's all we got. 16 minutes about Dri Archer.
Ridiculous.
It's a waste of time.
This subject was worth a comment on YouTube. That's about it.
Now we got 16 minutes worth of comments. Fans, if you want to let us know how you feel, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube. Click subscribe. 195 subscribers. We're getting up there. Beast mode.